Hey y'all, what's going on? It's Barb Meets World, and we are back to discuss the Real Housewives of Atlanta's season 16 episodes 4 and 5. Before we get into all that, y'all, you already know I need you to do a few things for moi, which include liking the video, because liking the video in terms of the algorithm helps me attract new subscribers such as yourself. And if you're not a current subscriber, go on ahead, hit the subscription button, become a Barb's Babe. I would love to have you here. Also, please comment below. I would love to know your thoughts on my commentary as well as these episodes. Share me with all of your folks and make sure that notification bell is on so you know every single time I make an upload so you don't miss out. Yes, like, comment, subscribe, share, do all of the things, y'all, and make sure you check the description box below for all pertinent information, and follow me on all my social medias, which are scrolling along the bottom of the screen. Hey, y'all, what's going on? So, yes, I must apologize. I was tardy in getting this last week's episode review recap up in time, but I actually think it works out well because these episodes go hand in hand. As you know, if you've already seen the episodes by now, we finally got into what all went down at Kenya's grand opening of her hair spa. You know, a lot of speculation has been surrounding this event. It's been a lot of, what exactly happened. We've heard through the grapevine that there was some revenge pee. There was just a lot of drama surrounding this event for the last year now. So we're finally jumped into it. And I just want to preface this with saying that I was still taken aback, even though there has been all of these whispers and we've heard that there was a pew pew threat involved somewhere along the lines. Although we've heard all these tidbits, it still was a lot to actually witness on screen. So I just, I hate that it came to this, because although I don't proclaim to be team anybody other than BarbMeetsWorld, it was disheartening to see someone with such a stature on the show, Kenya, go out like this after, being such a pillar on the show for so many seasons. It was a lot, y'all. So let's just get right into it. Yeah, let's just get into it, okay? So season 16, episode 4 was High Notes and Cheap Shots. Opening scene, we got Brittany. I don't even really want to call her by her real name, because she's just so irrelevant, in my opinion, at this point in time. But we got Brit and Angela. They took a walk. And again, I've been telling you guys, she's been saying these little things as far as her not having a great track record with other ladies. In this scene, Brit says that she doesn't have a lot of female friends because they're either going to love her or hate her. And she takes friendships very serious. There seems to be a common denominator in all these situations. And I think that plays a big part into the road that things took a turn down. Just saying. Nonetheless, Angela also opens up about her sister and how they aren't seeing eye to eye on things, and her mother, she's caught in the middle of it. She also goes on to say that Charles and her mother, they started off really well, but fast forward over the years, things have taken a turn for the worst, I guess you'd say. And her mom has formed an opinion, and she was actually brave enough. She used the word brave to say she's brave enough to share that opinion with Charles, which led to a huge argument. And even though her mom apologized, Charles still feels like it's fresh. I'll just stop right there and say that I feel like Angela is not being 100% honest about the dynamics and the relationships and really the truth in her family. I don't really think she's being 100% honest in her marriage. and how this alleged side baby came to be. I know we spoke about that in my last video. She's since denied those claims that, you know, the story that we're starting to hear being painted on the blogs and online and everything, like, is not truly the case. I'll believe it when I see it. And I feel like your mother probably had something to say, or your sister probably had something to say about exactly what I just said, about something that probably went on in y'all's marriage. And that's probably where the backlash stems from, in my opinion. Brit, she can empathize because her I want to say older sister share. This is kind of something that is similar to what they've been through. Angela also was planning a get together with the girls. She was thinking of making amends with Shamea because things got off to the wrong foot, as we already know. She's still open to moving things forward with her, hashing it out, etc., etc. We'll see if Shamea is receptive to that. And Brit also took this as an opportunity to say, as though she felt like Shamea has been super warm and welcoming, but Kenya, on the other hand, not so much. And she brings up how, you know, well, who wouldn't have preconceived notions on Kenya with her reputation, basically because she's nasty, nicey, and she's ready to be on Kenya's if this persists. Up until this point, I still am standing firm, and I don't feel as though Kenya gave any nasty, nicey vibes to Brit. We do know that Kenya has had a reputation on the show for a while, but I truly don't see Kenya in that light anymore. I feel like she's turned over a new leaf since becoming a mom and moving into this new era. But I feel like Brit came on to this show still wanting to have an issue with Kenya, still thinking that she was going to be the old Kenya that we've seen seasons prior. And that's just not what she gave. Then we see Shamea and her sister. They were sitting out by the pool, and Shamea plays one of her songs for her sister. Not too much with this scene. She takes us through a walk down memory lane, detailing her musical journey. She wants to play the song for the girls as well at Angela's dinner, which Shamea was taken aback to even have gotten an invitation to, because had the roles been reversed, she wouldn't have been too keen on sending Angela an invite. She's like, in her confessional, "Your nose is mine," which actually made me laugh. I'm not going to lie, even though I do think that it was kind of old, because I just don't think that they had any reason to have an issue. However, at the same time, the Shamea was coming at Angela pretty hard, and she was standing firm and not really liking her too much just the episode prior, only for her to now flip and be ready to make amends and being so remorseful and all this stuff. And although I don't like to see the girls carry out unnecessary drama, it did give me the feeling like, okay, Shamea, is this going to be a usual occurrence for you? You doing something, saying something, having some venom, only to switch it up in the next scene? Like, are you going to keep just trying to, you know, come from a place of having an issue on one hand, only to then have like this grand awakening and want to turn over new leaves with people? Like, that's going to get annoying. That's going to give me flip-flop vibes. So I hope she doesn't continue to do stuff like that. And I also would have rather her orchestrated an actual listening party instead of just playing the song for the ladies at Angela's small dinner event or whatever. I think that would have been a lot better and a lot more formal, but that's just my thoughts. Moving on, Porsha had a meeting with her team. She says that her original plan was to be retired by 40. That's really the main thing I got from this, which in my opinion is BS, and just tells me that you thought that Simon was you're going to be your knight in shining armor, and you were just going to be able to run off into the sunset with him and his coins, only to find out that well had dried up or was never even a well that was plentiful to begin with. So joke was on you. Londi was also in the scene, and it made me sad because if you guys don't know, Londi was Porsha's cousin that we were introduced to on Porsha's Family Matters, and she has since passed. I expected them to say, like, you know, rest in peace, Londi, or something at the end of the episode, but they didn't say that. So I was just kind of like, well, okay then. But Porsha says that her businesses, she's trying to take it to the next level and stuff. And she has like a real team and everything. Okay, sis, if that's what you say, but you're also the same person that had an issue with Drew trying to do a photo shoot to showcase your brand as a brand ambassador. I feel like those two things don't go hand in hand. If that was the case, you should have been received that a whole hell of a lot better, in my opinion. But that's just me. Drew and Ralph, they had some co-parenting time. It was wild to me that, you know, Ralph still had a confessional, shirtless, might I add, when Kenya hasn't even gotten one confessional. We haven't heard anything, any commentary from her off screen. I just felt like that was just so wild to me. Drew says that they're way better co-parents than they are married. I can believe that, I guess, because the focus obviously is on the children. But all in all, I just think these are two lying people that should have just never been married at the end of the day. Ralph was in denial about Drew calling him a narcissist. She doesn't even know the definition of narcissism, which maybe that was just one of those words that you understand what the meaning is, but you can't quite articulate it in your own words. I'm gonna give her grace on that one. I'm gonna give her grace because at the end of the day, I do believe that Ralph is a narcissist. She says the judge's order might not be in the best interest of the kids. He disagrees because, as we know, he is living it up in the basement. And it's not just an ordinary basement, y'all. I didn't think it was, but the basement was giving. I wouldn't mind living down there either. But again, if you were this big tech guru or whatever, where is your money, sir? Why wouldn't you want to go and do what you need to do or whatever? And Drew's whole thing is, yeah, I mean, you're able to come and go as you please. You're able to still, you're basically still able to benefit off of things without having that responsibility or that obligation to consider her or whatever. He says that he just wanted respect. I'm sure that's what she wanted too, but you are the same person that told her that she deserved a Lunchable just a couple seasons ago. So I don't really think that that's too respectful. I feel like there was just way too much talking between them. I'm all for peace, but I just feel like they should only be talking about things through their lawyers because it can get misconstrued, misinterpreted. It can go left, I feel like, at any moment. And you guys have proved to be volatile together. So I would keep it like that. And he's proven to be someone who is going to flip things or try to antagonize you. So I just wouldn't even give him the satisfaction or the opportunity to do such. Kenya shows Kelli around her spa. Kelli, at this point, she came in with a bodyguard because we know she has a restraining order currently against her ex-husband who threatened to unalive her. So she's doing her due diligence and keeping herself protected via a security guard. And we find out that they both have exes named Mark. So that tells me I need to stay away from anybody named Mark. Just saying, sorry to any of the Marks if you're watching this. But she offered her ex-husband to keep the residual income while she just ran the business, but he wasn't having it. And he sounds like a real piece of work. I'm glad that we didn't meet him because that would mean that Kelli would be still in a toxic situation. But I can only imagine what he would have gave if he was on camera. It sounds like very much like one of those true crime documentary shows of like, I married a monster. Yeah, I definitely think that you did marry a monster, Kelli. Kenny gets emotional when talking about her business. She's dropped $400,000 on this business, and she's starting to question whether or not that was a good the good idea or not. She even dipped into Brooklyn's college fund. And that just, I feel like, foreshadows things for me in regards to, girl, why did you wind up doing what you did? If that was the case, if there's so much riding on the success of this business, I just would have thought that decision she made in the future, in the very near future at this point in time, would have just been different for her. I feel like she would have chose differently if there was so much at stake. It's hard for me to think that you were doing things in support of your daughter when it did the exact opposite. It just doesn't make sense to me. Kelli can empathize, though, with her on this. She understands how it can be scary. She thinks that Kenya is making the right decision, though, by having this business and everything. I did laugh, too, when Kenya was like, let me give these big boobs a hug. I thought that was funny. Brit had a lunch with her older sister, Cher, and I already have developed and have been developing my character analysis on Brit since she walked on our screen. I don't know why she was ever cast. I really don't. She's honestly the least interesting new face that I've seen on the show so far. I'm interested in what Kelli's got going on. Angela, even though I feel like she's playing in her faces and not being 100% honest in everything that's going on in her life, she's at least giving a bit more. Brit, we don't know what your husband does. We don't really know what you do for real, because there's been all these allegations that it was giving insurance fraud. All you said is how you've had issues with women your whole life, pretty much. It's my husband, even though that is kind of like a weird dynamic between y'all's two. Just saying. You keep bringing up, and let me just say, I'm not saying anything ill about the loss of her father. I would never diminish anyone's grief because it's a process that has no expiration date. Definitely for me, I'm still very much grieving my grandmother who passed 5 years ago this year, it will be. So I get it, but I feel like that's the main thing she's led with is like stuff like her dad's passing, and this now it's like how she's had issues. She's fell out with her sisters, which stems from how she shows up in her marriage and stuff like that. And it's just not interesting. I just think she's a disingenuous person. Sorry, but not sorry. Nonetheless, in this situation, or in this scene, I should say, Brit says something that was, again, very telling to me in terms of her personal relationships with mainly women. She's like, girls were always trying to fight me. Again, she's like, she doesn't have a lot of friends, et cetera, et cetera. Her sister was always there to basically fight her battles in that regard. And just more fuel, I feel like, to the fire of who Brit really truly is underneath it all. That's what it was giving. Moving on, Cher says she probably blocked their mom because that's her defense mechanism. She's super hurt. And she said that Brit just kind of goes off with her husband now. That's her main focus. And she wants to know why, when she wants to have a conversation with her sister, her husband always has to be there. And I hate when I see stuff like that, because it's like, yes, is your partner going to be 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, the individual you spend the most time with? Most definitely. But when my sister comes and visits, me and her go off and do our own thing. When my sister calls me, I step away and have a one-on-one conversation with my sister. So I'm not understanding why Cher should even have to say that. If you really value, you say you're all about family and stuff like that, but that's not what it was giving, because your sister shouldn't even have to say these things to you. Just saying. Her sister is literally pouring her heart out to her at the table, and it just didn't seem like it was clicking to Brit. And she said, like, looks as though her sister takes out her frustrations on Mike instead of Brit. That's Brit's issue, I guess, in all, or her stance, I guess, in the matter. And she's like, I know you don't want to hear it, but Mike has been texting me this whole time, and it's time for me to go home. So don't let this be the only time you call me, is when you want to have dinners and birthdays and stuff like that. Are you making yourself available to her? Because as soon as she said how she felt, you wanted to act like you understood, only to then turn around 2 seconds later and talk about he's blowing up your phone. And also, what does that say about y'all's relationship? You don't have any respect for your relationship with your sister and stuff like that, because he knows y'all out, he knows you're filming, he knows what's going on, right? So why is he even calling you like that in the first place? It was giving pimpo, if you ask me. I'm just saying, sorry. Moving on, Drew and Dennis, they had this quick little scene in the studio. Drew said she's been in quite a lot of trouble lately, and Dennis says he doesn't even know what's going on. Dennis, you're a lie. You know exactly what's going on. I feel like you knew exactly what part you played in this whole matter. And that's not to give grace to Porsha by any means, but two things can be true at the same time, as I always say, y'all. Once the other producer excuses himself, even though the engineer was still there, I was like, but there's still someone there. Anyway, Drew, they talk, and Dennis tells her to take the lead on things when it comes to like her and Porsha and everything. And I'm just like, Drew, I just wouldn't give her the satisfaction. I wouldn't care if she was bothered at all. She don't want to talk to you, I would stop trying. I would. Moving on. She hit the booth afterwards, and I still haven't heard her music. I still haven't played her music, but I know I need to, because I've been hearing nothing but good things about it. So sorry, Drew, I still haven't listened, but I plan on it. I promise, I plan on it. While the ladies are getting ready, Shamea tells Shamea on FaceTime with Porsha tells her that she's still been thinking about ways to apologize to Angela, which I'm just like, okay, girl, like, again, I don't want you to turn into a flip-flop, Shamea, so just pick a lane and stick to it. Brit tells Mike, I think it was Kelli, I don't know, Mike was going to drop off Brit because she doesn't feel safe. Apparently the bank or whatever was in the hood, and a lot of the ladies, I guess, had qualms about going to that side of town. I mean, I would have been totally fine, but that's just me. And I guess that was just shade towards the place, not towards any particular person, I will say. Charles also dropped off Angela. The attire for the dinner was Black Excellence, and it said it on the invitation. Only person that showed up in not black was Kenya, which I'm like, was that foreshadowing as well, for like basically saying like you don't really have a place in this group? Or I don't know. I'm a very symbolic person, so I just was looking at everything with a fine with a fine lens, or I was combing through everything with a fine tooth comb, I should probably say, right? Because we know what's going to happen in the next episode. At this point, we know what was going to happen. We know where we were going with things. So it was just giving like, okay, is this another example of why Kenya didn't really fit into this group? We know that they're trying to usher in a younger demographic. And I mean, just being honest, Cynthia and Kenya do kind of seem like the outliers in this new dynamic. I do feel like Angela also can go. Angela, to me, because I don't know if it's because she's new or whatever, she could go either way, but I would have been interested to see her on seasons with like, Candy and Sheree and all of them folks. I would have been interested in how she would have fit in with that group as well. But anyway, all the ladies start to arrive, and again, when Kenya walks in, she's noticeably in a different color than everybody else. She did hug Brit, and I just want to make mention of that, because up until this point, Brit is still having issues with Kenya. She's still picking at issues, I feel like, with Kenya, because she did hug her, but she complained that was a pat and not a hug. I'm like, girl, what do you want to motorboat her? Like, what do you want from this lady? I'm not understanding, because I feel like she's been open and honest and inviting towards you, but that's just for some odd reason not what you are receiving. And I get it. Everybody experiences a different version of a person. Everybody's experience with a person can differ person to person, but according to Kenya, like none of these are all the only interactions they've had up until this point. So it's just like, girl, what is your issue? For real. Shamea brought in this olive oil with an olive branch out of it. I feel like the presentation of that could have been a little bit better, but nonetheless, she extends it to Angela. Angela receives it. She's sincerely sorry for attacking her physical appearance because, as Shamea says, it's not like her. She wants to start over, and they're off into a better place now. Thank God, because I just don't want to keep dealing with it. But Shamea does keep making these subtle jabs in her confessional. She said something like, beat it, which ha ha he Michael Jackson. I thought that was funny, but again, pick one, choose one, Shamea. I have to admit, once all the ladies were there, I was still looking for someone else to walk in the room for some odd reason. And it's not to say, like, I want to obviously like this cast. I want to like the new freshness that we're getting from this group and stuff like that. But for some odd reason, I was expecting, I don't know if it subconsciously doesn't feel complete to me or what, but it just felt like something was missing. Like I was waiting for someone else to walk in the room. And I was like, is it Cynthia? Was it who was it? I don't know, but I don't know. That's just how I felt. According to Kelli, Drew didn't purchase anything, which I'm just like, wasn't this a topic of conversation in previous seasons? Like Drew's money being funny or her being cheap or what have you. I'm just like, I don't really know why that needs to be brought up. Drew does try to defend herself by showing Kelli a conversation with one of the essays, I want to say. But as she's showing Kelli this, wasn't a transaction, it was just a conversation. Drew's like, I bought a $2,000 jacket for my son, which that's anyway. As she's showing her this, though, a text message notification pops up from Dennis, of all people. Drew's like, whoa, it's a group text. Like, don't even, like, relax. Again, I wouldn't care if I was Drew. I would not care one bit. You said you tried to talk to Porsha about it, and it's giving Porsha doesn't really have anything else going on, or she doesn't really truly want to talk about the ugliness that's surrounding her life at this point. So it's just like she wants to keep things going with Drew instead to deflect. That's what I'm picking up. Y'all let me know what you're picking up on why Porsha's trying to continue this whole thing with Drew. Nonetheless, Drew asks Kenya how her hair spa was. Kenya did at this point invite all of the ladies to her grand opening. She didn't single anybody out or anything like that, but she did extend it to everybody, which I thought, again, was her showing grace, was being welcoming, was being nice, when she could have just not invited everybody if she didn't want to. But again, I know Brit at this point in time is somebody who's going to find an issue with whatever Kenya has going on or whatever Kenya does, because she just wants to have an issue with Kenya. You cannot convince me otherwise. Sorry. Shamea played the song for the ladies, and the whole time Porsha was asking, is that you? That's not you. That's Drew. That's not you. Like, that's not Shamea's voice. Are you on it? And it's just like, why would Shamea be playing Drew's song? It was giving hater. It was giving, I don't want to, see my best friend shine. Y'all let me know. I feel like if it was my best friend, if it was my best friend playing her song, I would have nothing. I would be on top of the table, clapping and singing and dancing along, trying to learn the words. But that just goes to show, once again, Porsha is not your true friend, Shamea. You might have been a true friend to her, but Porsha doesn't want to see you be great. I don't believe she does. And I see that Porsha's made a YouTube channel recently. I haven't gone over there and watched her videos yet, but I'm sure she's saying some slick, backhanded she's throwing indirect shade, I'm pretty sure, at Shamea. I wouldn't put it past her. All the other ladies, though, they're giving her kudos. So it's just like, but it's fine. We clocked it, Porsha. I saw that coming. Not surprised. Angela wants to play like this deposit slip game where they all write anonymous questions down and then they read it out loud and the person, whoever it's directed towards, answers it. We all know how these games go. It's going to be messy. It's going to lead to something. It's going to be some and it was some definitely. So first question was cute enough. You know, what did you do to thank your husband for the Rolls Royce? And Shamea gives a very graphic visual description of what she gave that night. Okay, girl, cool, whatever. But cute, not too messy. The next question was pointed at Angela, and it said, "What is the secret? But you don't want to. What is the secret you don't want to share with the group?" And Angela says she's an open book. I don't believe that. Like I said earlier, I feel like there's something she's hiding when it comes to these relationships in her life. I feel like only time will tell. But right now, she claims to be an open book. Okay, sure. You should have said you're messy. You're messy. I feel like Porsha actually is the one that mentioned that, like, you know, watch out. Angela's a sneaky one. I fully believe that after watching these 2 episodes. And the next question was, can you speak to Brit kindly without an attitude? Of course, we all thought that Brit wrote this. I like to think we thought Brit wrote this. And Kenya's like, you know, baby, you want a moment, have your moment. And she says that because Brit starts coming at her. And I don't feel like she cut her off. I don't feel like it was anything other than what she said, like, have your moment. And I feel like things turned up an octave harsher when Kenya said peasants cannot come for a queen. Like, girl, I knew where she was coming from. I don't really think that it was that serious, but literally it goes from 0 to 300 in the blink of an eye. Brit starts going off. All the ladies are like, what the, like, why are you overreacting? She really clearly has an issue with Kenya. Dinner is ruined. Everybody starts getting up and everything. And Brit's like, you know, somebody find my husband. I'm ready, baby. I had to let that bitch know. Her little ditzy. I don't play that game. I got pistols and whips and everything. This is real life. You got to be respectful around here. And if you don't, you're going to learn today. Mike even told her she was doing too much. And she was. And I really wish Kelli was right there, even though Kelli tries to act like she didn't hear what she said. Kelli was right there. I think she even said, she's like, we're not gonna need all that. Or she responded. So Kelli, you did hear her. And Kenya was also right there too. And she heard her bring up the pew pew. So at that point, I do feel like production should have stepped in and told her, yeah, you're doing too much. Once firearms are being mentioned, I feel like that's where the line should have been drawn. And I'm not saying that to omit any individual from what they do in retaliation in the next episode, but I will say production should have said more in this moment. I feel like they failed in this moment. I really do. And I feel like, again, it was given like she sounded like a madam or something, like pistols and whips. Like, where was that needed? And although she didn't say it directly, like, oh, I got my pistol on me or whatever, it's just like, who was that for? Anybody in this situation would have took that as you were meaning it, pointed at Kenya, who at this point was unbothered. She was on her phone. She wasn't even paying. She was paying her dust. She actually got in a car with Porsha and Shamea, I believe, and relayed the comments to Porsha or whatever. And it was just like very much unnecessary. And I feel like who we saw in this moment was the true Brit. It was, which is why I'm like, I don't know why you're on the show when across the board, this is not a line that has been crossed or has been crossed and would have been taken lightly on any other franchise, I feel like. So why was it just ignored during this scene? Why was she able to just continue on unscathed after this? I don't get it. It should have been stopped right there. But that's just my thoughts. Moving on to episode 5 about last night. This episode began with Angela arriving to Shamea's house. Would you look at that? Cheers to new beginnings. Then in walks Brit, barefaced, talking about how she acted a fool the previous night. And I'm like, did a producer get in your ear and tell you to do damage control? Like, what was it? Because the day and night switch up was just insane to me. Insane. But Angela actually expresses that the owner of the bank was concerned because it was giving extra security was needed. And I was like, see, that's what would piss me off, because you're not about to have me out here, you know, tarnishing my name as a host, as a host. That's bad business. What if I can't come back here? I would have been pissed. Anyway, Shamea also asked Brit, you know, what was going on? Like, what happened? Obviously, she's talking about how she was going off on Kenya and stuff like that. And Brit says, oh, no, Shamea said she's not a fan of people cutting people off. Y'all let me know. I watched the scene back multiple times. At no point in time did I feel as though Kenya cut Brit off. She responded accordingly. I feel like she didn't raise her voice. She didn't say it with an attitude, nothing of the sort. But I feel like Brit was going to have an issue no matter what, because she came into this wanting an issue with Kenya for whatever weird ass reason. It's just weird to me. So Shamea, I thought that was unnecessary to say. Brit said, so when it was my turn, Kenya cut me off every time. I felt disrespected. I had the floor. Again, they roll back the clip. I don't feel like that constitutes Kenya cutting her off. But anyway, Angela, this is why I said before, Angela's messy, because Angela admits that she was the one that wrote the question, y'all. And at this point, she was taking Brit's side. She explicitly lets that be known. She was taking Brit's side. She says, I acknowledge my friend's feelings, friend being Brit. And that's because Brit asked her, like, so did you acknowledge the energy that was coming off of Kenya when it comes to me or whatever? To be a fly on the wall, because although I don't agree, I'll say it right now, I don't agree with the way Kenya chose to handle things. I believe her when she says that she didn't give her any malice. I don't feel like that ring perfect example. You said I have on 2 rings because I'm not engaged. I am married. I do understand that certain people, they just only wear 1 ring. That's up to you. But traditionally speaking, if I was to just wear 1 ring, I wouldn't be offended if somebody was like, oh, like, how long you been engaged, or when is your wedding, or whatever, because traditionally speaking, you have 2. Has she addressed that at all? Anyway. Anyway. So Brit admits that this is who she is when she is provoked, but she doesn't want anyone to think that she was trying to intimidate Kenya. So you admit that, like, yeah, that you were doing a lot, that this you take ownership for this was a part of you. This may have been another side of you, but this was a side of you nonetheless. Do you feel like Kenya provoked Brit? I don't feel like Kenya provoked Brit up until this point. I don't feel like that at all. I feel like you picked a fight because you wanted to pick a fight, much like you probably took this same approach in a lot of these dealings that went poorly with women in the past. Common denominator much? You're not gonna play in my face. You're not gonna play in my face. Shamea tells Brit that she's gonna have to let Kenya get her licks in. And she was receptive to that. I think she knew at that point that it was going to be an uphill battle for quite a bit. I would have been eager to see how, had Kenya not did what she did in the end, how Brit really would have tried to rectify things with her. I would have been very curious, like exactly what it would have looked like with her without her being weird like this. Been very curious. Shamea had asked, Brit said, I'm a really sweet, nice girl. I hate that you guys had to see that side of me. That would also, even if I wasn't Kenya, if I was just the other ladies, that would have put me on high alert to knowing like, okay, this can go from 0 to 100 real quick. She is obviously not above just going off the handle for no particular reason at all. That would have put me on notice when it came to her. And I feel like Kelli's been very, very much saying like that's not who she knows Brit to be up until this point and stuff like that. And it's just like, y'all do realize at this point, I want to say Kelli and Brit had only been friends for like a year or whatever. And yes, I have gotten very, very, very close with individuals within a year's time span. But at the same time, I'm never going to say that anybody is beyond. Ooh, sorry, y'all. Excuse me. God bless me. I'm never going to say that anybody is beyond acting a certain way if I haven't seen them push to a certain point. Even people that have gotten close, I can't say that like, oh, I've never seen them when they've dealt with a loss, or I've never seen them when they got their heart broken or anything like that. You don't know something until you know it. So yeah, you might not have seen that version of that person because that experience hasn't popped up to challenge that person in that way. I feel like that would have been a better thing to say. Shamea asked Angela if she mentioned what Porsha said about Charles. And she said, no, I'm married to a celebrity. My DMs are flooded. It's not a lot that can rock the boat. Yeah, I'm sure there's not a lot that can rock the boat when it's been rocked by the biggest wave to date, which in my opinion is still a side baby. Just saying. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have been challenged beyond measure with that one. So yeah, I'm sure nothing else would surprise you. But I do feel like she took a very, very soft approach and didn't press Porsha as hard as I would have in that moment. But everybody handles things differently, I guess. You all notice how Brit's response was, well, somebody might have got slapped if somebody's talking about my husband like he did something. They don't want to speak on it. Yeah, I'm sure I 100% believed her when she said that. That seems to be the type of person you are. I fully believe that. You probably would have put chrome to their dome too, probably, knowing you. Anyway, moving on. Kenya has Porsha and Kelli at her hair spa, to check out some models. I thought this was a cute scene. Remember, her and Porsha were in a really good place at this point, which again is bittersweet to know that that's coming to a rapid conclusion. Well, with them being on screen at least. Although I want to say Kenya considers Porsha a traitor right now. I think she posted like a subliminal on her social media, and I want to say that's because Porsha has been openly having this new budding relationship with Brit. Not surprised there. I don't feel like Porsha's loyalties lie to anybody other than Porsha. So anyway, Kenya, she got her security. Kelli got her security. We know Porsha, the bombshell bomber, she doesn't need security. She's her own security. If you guys have watched seasons of this show, as well as Porsha's Family Matters, you know exactly why I said that. We know Mama can hold her own. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, so Kenya, the girls were cute. They come out, they do a little strut and everything. Kenya does say that she's nervous, but she's excited overall. She, again, did invite all the ladies, as we saw in the previous episode, but she hasn't uninvited Brit either up until this point. If I was Brit, y'all let me know in the comments. If you were Brit, would you have gone to the event still? How would you approach this situation? I can't even guess how I would have approached this situation, because me and Brit are just two very different people, clearly. I wouldn't even been in the situation from the get-go, but hypothetically speaking, if I did find myself in the situation, I probably would have reached out to her directly and been like, hey, I would still like to come to your event to support you. Is the invitation still open or whatever? Maybe. But then again, we're on a TV show. So that even if Kenya would have said, yeah, you can still come, it's cool, whatever. In the back of my mind, I still would have been like, okay, is she going to try to pull some on me? Like, you just never know. You never know. So Kelli says she's still confused about what happened. And like I said before, you're confused about what happened. This is not the person that you've dealt with. You never seen her act in this manner because you've not been put in this position before. And I feel like when you're put into positions like this, you know, this is when you really see the true individual. Kenya says, you know, it was going well. And then Porsha jumps in to talk about how it took a left turn when with Brit, Kenya disengaged. And then next thing she knows, Kenya heard what she heard about the pew pew and so on and so forth. Like I said, Kelli's taken aback. This is not who she knows her friend to be, yada, yada, yada. And Kenya was like, you know, well, that's what I heard. That's just what it is at the end of the day. That's what I heard. You might not know her to be that person, but I know what I heard. And Porsha thinks that Kenya should do her due diligence. And in Kenya's mind, she is going to do her due diligence by doing a background check. We see where that background check got her. If that's what she was referring to, we see exactly what she meant by background check. Moving on, Angela and her daughter, her 24-year-old daughter, Amari, they go to this coffee shop or whatever. Angela's mom was supposed to be there. She wasn't there, though, because apparently the fan recently between Amari, her mom, and the aunt, Angela's sister. Angela does tell us that Amari's biological father was unalived in Chicago when she was 7. So she's been a single mom. She was a single mom with her for a very long time. That's her best friend, etc., etc. Amari tries to explain the situation by saying that she had went over there to the house that Angela brought her mom and her sister to use the car that she bought the grandmother. And they were talking about you got to give them money. And she was like taken aback because she's helping with so much stuff. Her mom's helping with so much stuff. And her aunt apparently got in her face, called her a demon, so on and so forth. And now Amari doesn't want her mom to financially support them. And Angela financially supports her mom and is very much protective of her mom and supportive of her mom because that's the promise that she kept to her grandmother. Angela's grandmother told her to always look out for, the welfare of her mom, pretty much, because as Angela revealed, her mother suffers from bipolar disorder. Which, how do you guys feel about her telling us this? Do you guys feel like that was out of bounds? Do you feel like she shouldn't have divulged that without her mother's knowledge? Or, I mean, who knows? She might have gotten her mom's consent. I don't know. But yeah, I at this point, is she going to go on and say that? I want to hear the other side to the story. And I say that because, Angela, I don't feel like you're 100% honest about everything that you got going on, and the apple doesn't far too fall from the tree when it comes to that. I feel like, because Amari in this situation, she gave manipulative brat. I'm just gonna say because Angela's like, she won't get away with this. my mother not defending you, like, you know, breaks my heart. Amari had moved out of the house after things, she said after things went left. So that tells me that something happened before this, which tells me at that point, like, I get it. Your mom bought her the house and the car and stuff like that. But at that point, if I was her, and I say this because 24, she's grown, she's an adult, so she can hear this, that like, why you should just have your own stuff and focus on your own stuff, because clearly things have gone weird between y'all in the past. And also, like, where are you living? Why aren't you living? Because we find out 2 seconds later that she's been married for 4 months, unbeknownst to Angela until recently, even though they're supposed to be best friends. Weird. Why aren't you? Where's your car and where are you living, young lady? And yeah, you probably don't want her to support them because it seems like you only want things to be the way that you want. I don't know. I don't know about her. Don't know about her. And so then they go on to talk about, or Angela then starts to get emotional when it's brought up that, like, Amari got married 4 months ago. She's like, you know, why didn't you tell me? Like, that's you know, it's a lot. Like, you don't tell me stuff, yada yada yada. And before she could really even let tears fall, then Amari starts crying. And she flips it and she's like, you know, everybody's making it a bigger deal than I am. Nothing's changed. I can't go back in time, Mom. This is all becoming too much. This is too much. It's not fair. It just became, you know, gang up on Amari Day. I think that's because she thought it was going to be gang up on the grandmother day. Like, did you think the grandmother's going to come there and then your mom was going to just have your back and was going to tell her, like, you better let my baby use the car. You better let her do this, that, and other thing. Like, what did you think? She flipped this so hard, so fast. It was very manipulative, in my opinion, and speaks to their dynamic and probably how things have been going down. I don't know. And yeah, where's the who are you married to? Where are they at? Why aren't you living with them? When she asked her, she's like, you know, what's up to that? She's just like, yeah, I just did it or something. Like, girl, huh? And it looked like she had like a rubber ring on or whatever, like, which I wear a rubber ring to the gym and stuff. So she might have a real one. I don't know. But it just, what do you got going on? Are you in a contract marriage? Like, what is going on for real? Because there's clearly a reason why you didn't say something or whatever, or you guys not as close as Angela's trying to portray, because she was like, oh, well, who told you or whatever? And Angela was like, your grandmother or whatever. And she's like, oh, they just threw me under the bus, huh? Like, huh? Like, what? Just kind of weird. Just very, very, they got some weird stuff going on in that family, I feel like. And on one hand, we had her saying like good things about the grandmother. And then on the next, and she's like, you know, grandma's so beautiful. She's such a strong woman. And I felt like that was weird how she was my grandmother. It's not, I don't know. The way she posed that statement even sounded weird. My grandmother, like, you mean my grandma? I would have just, if I was talking to my mom about my grandmother, I would just say, grandma, da, 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 like, not my grandma. Maybe I'm just being a little extra. I was just getting all these weird vibes from that scene. Just saying. So next thing we get Porsha and Brit. They meet up. Brit's like, it's been intense. She took it too far with Kenya. She wishes it never happened. She doesn't want anyone to feel like she's threatening towards them. She hopes Kenya can accept her apology and they can move forward. I bet you do. I bet you do. Damage control. I wasn't buying, like, two things can be true at the same time, y'all. I don't agree with what Kenya did, but I also, like, don't feel bad for Brit, if that makes sense. Like, none of these antics were moving me, because I think she meant and was the person who she was in that scene when she was talking about PPUs. I definitely do. Anyway, Brit says she thought they were cool, but when she gets around the group, Kenya puts on, and she has this tone that tries to like imitate Kenya, asking about like, where's your wedding band, and be all like nasty and stuff. And y'all let me know, go back, rewind it, let me know if that's the tone that you picked up from Kenya, because it's damn sure not the tone I picked up from her. Again, I thought it was an honest question. Just saying. And Porsha's whole thing is, everyone was there to witness this exchange, and that's not what they didn't speak to that, to that being the way that Kenya came off. And Brit's like, she's being dismissive and nasty and just targeting me. And Porsha's and hazing me. She said the word hazing too. And Porsha's like, well, she's not doing any of that. That's not, the case between her and the other new girls or Kelli or whatever. And Brit's like, I have nothing to do with that. And it's just like, you have nothing to do with that because that's not what happened. Point blank. And Porsha's like, Kenya has these preconceived notions surrounding her, that she's been this queen bee and she's going to little girl you. So I can see how you would feel that way. And, place her in that box, like as if she's like trying you and stuff like that. And Brit's like, yeah, mm-hmm. Yep, that's exactly what she's giving me. That girl is delusional. Someone need to check her temperature. I have so many questions. And I think she's going to be on Watch What Happens Live soon. And I can't wait to get into that, because have they already filmed it? I need to like try to call in or something, because weird, crazy eyes. And Porsha says what I had already kind of speculated, that Brit came into the situation thinking that she was going to get the supervillain Kenya, who jokes on you, Brit. That's not who she currently is. You got a different version of her. You got the Kenya that doesn't give a at the moment. And so, yeah, barking up the entirely wrong tree. And when she paid you dust, you couldn't handle it. And Brit just tries to attribute it to her being triggered and that situation popping off and her being in this new environment, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just like, that sounds all good and dandy, but you were standing on business with that. You definitely were. And that's not just something that little slip of the tongue. I don't just randomly bring up my pistol and whips and stuff just to accidentally say. Indirect threat. And Porsha was even making sense in this moment. She's drawing up comparisons of like, okay, when we were over at Shamea's house and I was going back and forth with Drew or whatever, I got in the elevator and just started talking about, my pistol or whatever. That would have been like, girl, what? Exactly. You knew exactly what you were saying. You knew exactly what the implication was. And like I said before, production should have stepped in that moment. And if anybody should have been given their walking papers or put on pause, it should have been you in that moment, because you coming real crazy, mama. She tries to act like she was never going to do anything, and she wants to, apologize to Kenya for threatening her, and she proclaims she doesn't have an issue with her. But I'm like, girl, you made an issue out of nothing day one with Kenya. And it sucks that she fell for it in the end, but you very much initiated the things going left with y'all from the get-go. Anyway, over at Angela's house, Charles is frying the hell out of some chicken, and she wants him to come with her to the event. It's like a very much lady dominant event in that moment. So he's not understanding why he would need to be there. Like, you just said it's just gonna be a whole bunch of women, like, and she also tells him at this point about the comment that Porsha made, and he's like, is she feds or something? Like, she better stay in her lane. And I was like, ooh, we are gonna you mark my words, Charles is gonna come live on the screen Sooner than we think. He's gonna, because he was like, yeah, she better Google me twice. Yeah, I would be good. Angela, in her confessional, she says, you can speculate all you want, but you better not say, something about my husband. But that's not the energy you had in that moment. And he calls her out on that because he's like, you should have handled it in that moment. You should have said that. True, but I see the power dynamic in their relationship. Wouldn't work for me, but hey, I guess it's working for you. And I feel like things that happen and unfold in your family life, because that's the next subject or the next topic of conversation, was her bringing up what's going on with her mom and her sister. And he like, I didn't call my sister, what's the difference? And he doesn't want her to keep bringing up her problems to him, which I'm like, well, I did agree with her there. Like, yeah, we're married. That's kind of how this works. But his whole thing is he's not going to keep taking care of people and then them begging to do this and do that and whatever. You just, which I totally understand. Yeah, if I'm funding your lifestyle, then I'd understand how a person will be like, my way or the highway. That is exactly why I would never have somebody fund my lifestyle, because you're not about to tell me anything or hold that over my head or anything like that. So that's where a lot of this animosity and turmoil stems from, Angela. And the way that she wanted to come on the show and act like she was a self-made millionaire boss. That's not what's giving. It's giving that Charles is paying for everything around that motherfucker, for you and for your family. So maybe you should put a stop to that and you wouldn't be so stressed out about it. Just saying. Moving on, it's nearing the time of Kenya's event. Kelli had a sprinter pick up her and Brit. Brit has flowers. This is supposed to be her peace offering. She wrote a heartfelt card, message on a card or whatever. She wants to make things right. And the way that they edited this episode and this whole scene and everything, y'all, was just so sad, because we know what's to come. But obviously it hit harder when it actually happened. It hit way harder than I thought it was even going to be. It was like literally watching a train wreck in slow motion, y'all. Oh my God. But Cynthia, we got Cynthia talking about how proud she is of her friend. Miss Lawrence was there, speaking nothing but highly of Kenya. He even admitted that this was Kenya was actually the first person that introduced him to sewing clips onto a track, like clip-ins. I thought that was cute. Manyetta was there. Drew's sister Allison was there. Ming Lee, Akila, whole bunch of people there. Beautiful event. They were saying nothing but praises about what Kenya has done. Producers, influencers, you name it. Kenya looked gorgeous. All the ladies honestly looked amazing. I think I might have a picture of some of them. I loved Porsha's look. Kenya looked amazing. I like Shamea's outfit from the ankles up. I don't know why she wore those shoes, but okay. Angela's got a body. I mean, a lot of them do. Angela's body is tea. But Kenya looks so beautiful. Definitely giving Black Barbie. Oh, she looks so amazing. I love the hair. I love everything about it, which just makes this even more heartbreaking that things took the turn that they did. And Shamea, or I should say you notice how Brit and Kelli, they were in the sprinter and it's like, oh yeah, till the wheels fall off. What would I do without you? See how that's not going to age well. And then we even had Shamea telling Cynthia how she made up with Angela. Porsha, on the other hand, we know that her and Drew up until this point haven't made up. Drew tries to make up with her when she arrives and stuff like that. Porsha's still not having it. And if I was Drew, I would disengage and not allow Porsha to continue to create a storyline off of this bullshit. That's just my 2 cents. And I feel like production was trying to garner sympathy, and the edit that Brit got out of this whole thing is mind-blowing to me, because they bring up like she brings up her aunt passing, and that being that making her reminisce on her dad and stuff like that. They were really trying to, I feel like, hone in on her being like the victim in this whole thing. I wasn't buying it, but just saying. Kenya had orchestrated coordinated a mini Bronner Brothers-esque hair show contest, which I thought was super cute as well, as you can see. And there's even a winner that really didn't even get to have her moment, unfortunately. And so when Kenya reemerges, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. When Brit gets there, Cynthia is like, well, if she didn't want you here, you would have known if you were uninvited. Shamea is like, security would have escorted you out. We know Kenya is never above putting somebody out of somewhere. Like, she stands on business when it comes to that. So right now, Brit is thinking everything is like, I guess, cool enough. Has the flowers and everything, whatever. When Kenya reemerges, though, pays Brit absolute dust. Acts like she's not even there, which gave Brit her answer that, yeah, this is not probably in a space that I'm welcome in. So she decides to leave the flowers there, and she makes her exit. Okay. And right after that, Kenya begins to rally everybody around, and she starts to go on about how she has built this salon for her daughter. She's proud of where she's at, and she wants people to, to just recognize that fact. But there's an individual that's, trying to bring her down. She's tired of it. And meanwhile, Brit is explaining to Kelli outside that, she's in the olive branch. She chose to ignore it. So she hopes that she reads the card, though, at the end of the day. And Kenya's going on and on and on, y'all, to say, the other night at this dinner, this person was looking for a moment. She came for me. And these flowers, yeah. These flowers, dang, these are green. I wish they weren't green. Hold on. These flowers, yep. Get them on out of here. Yep. Give them to somebody homeless. So, pause. So Kelli actually grabs the card out of the flowers. She's like, whoa, wait. And Kenny's like, burn that shit and stay out of it. I'm that bitch, been that bitch, still that bitch. I wish she would have just stopped there, because that would have been cute enough, whatever. And mind you, the whole time, Kenya was like, she was definitely drinking. And it's like, on one hand, I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh yeah, this was just completely alcohol driven, because that would be ridiculous to say, because this was, she obviously had the poster, but like, no, there was some effort put into this on the front end. So no. But did she need maybe a little liquid courage to do this because she knew that this was insane? Maybe. I don't know. But she's like, yep, and I'm going to pay you dust. Then she talked about she brought the pistol and keeping it on her at all times. So I did a little research and found out who this bitch is. Grabs poster board. And I found out Brit Eady is her name. Okay. And Kelly's like, oh, I'm not doing this. She needs to pipe down. Porsha's like, Kenya crazy. Oh. And she starts going on and point. Yep. Nose job fillers. Yep. The whole nine. And then she grabs a second poster board. She's like, she used to be a video hoe, a trap hoe. And, I was, in videos or whatever, I was making stacks. I was a leading lady. Okay. And everybody's like, okay, where are we going with this? Where are we landing with this? And they kept sending info. Crab's third poster boy. Audible gasps, y'all. Literally audible gasps. Because jaws literally dropped onto the floor because it's like, girl, what? Huh? Grand opening? What? Girl, like I said to y'all before, everybody and their mother was in there. Beautiful event. Very much lavish, upscale, grand opening. Remember, $400,000 were put into this. And, you know, Cynthia's like, I don't want to see her sucking dick. Like, what? Huh? Girl, what? And Shamea's like, oh, Kenya, this is too far. And Kenya's like, nah, that bitch threatened me with a pew pew. And Porsha's like, I'm out of there. She didn't want no parts. Ladies start to get up and leave. And Kenya's still going on about, you know, yeah, she tried to take food out of my daughter's mouth. Don't come for me. And we got somebody in the back, you know, saying, yeah, unless I sin for you. Throwing in their whole ad libs the whole time, just fanning the flames. I don't know who that was, but they was fanning the flames. Okay, y'all. And Cynthia lets it be known she did not like that Kenya, you know, handled it this way. Like I said, everybody was just kind of like, really, this is not what we're doing. Like, girl, what? Like, receipts is one thing, but showing them, like, huh? What the fuck, Kenya? Cynthia's like, congrats, I love you, but I don't condone this. I don't like this, etc. Cynthia said that she started crying actually about it too, she says, but they didn't show that. Porsha's outside. She's done with it. Mind you, like I said before, Brit apparently had left, but then I heard from somebody who was like there that she didn't leave. She was actually there when it happened. I don't know. But it didn't, I feel like, go off how something to this magnitude she probably wanted to go off, because it was instant, like, girl, are you serious? This is what we're doing now? And as soon as she grabs that third board with her going to town, apparently, on the knob, they posted, due to the graphic nature of these photographs, Bravo has chosen not to exhibit them. And then furthermore, they also put up this one saying, based on Kenya's behavior, the decision was made to cease filming with her this season. Girl. I don't think Kelli was in there for the third one either, because she walked off, but it was just like, what the fuck? Kenya, what the heck? Overall, like, y'all, I'm disappointed, because it's just like, girl, you were just saying like how much you put into this. You needed to basically, you're in the negative right now. You're trying to get into the green, and you thought this was the way to do it. You should not have done it. Overall, no, you shouldn't have done this at all. But my whole thing is, definitely shouldn't have happened at your event. You gave her too much power by making this event about her in the end. For what? I just wanted better for her. I'm just like, was this grasping at straws, trying to remain relevant on the show once you've seen that they were, you know, ushering in a new demographic of ladies? Like, what was it? Because I just was hoping, like, even though we've heard through the grapevine that it went down like this, I was just hoping, like, no, somewhere, some way, it just has to be, it just can't be the case. Like, it has to have been different. Like, come on. But it wasn't. And I hate that for her. I really do. But let me hurry up and show you guys, like, some of what the ladies, like, some of the responses and aftermath and stuff like that. And even now, like, she's still kind of like posting things, and it's still kind of like, okay, girl, like, oh, I actually forgot to mention Kenya actually thanked Angela because apparently Angela was the only one that reached out to Kenya after the other night when Brit had brought up the pew pew and stuff. She said, I apologize for you not feeling safe as a mother, and as a elevated Black woman, I support your stance, which was the exact opposite of what she told Brit. She was apparently on Brit's side in the beginning of the episode, and by the end of the episode, she's now on Kenya's side. Flip-flop. Don't like it. Like, whose side are you really on? Like, come on now. This is what Brit had said directly following the event or whatever. It's never a good feeling being targeted or hazed by someone I thought would embrace me into a new circle that I never met. For the record, I've never once had possession of any weapons or threatened anyone ever. I've never, ever been to jail and fight or even had as much as a speeding ticket. That's not in my character. I am hurt by the narrative that's being displayed. Wrong is wrong. That's a lie because you did admit that that's what you said. And that was a threat. And then you also admit that you had never met her, which again, if the only interactions we saw on the show were the ones that we saw, then how is that symbolizing that she targeted or hazed you? I just disingenuous. This is what Keela had said. All I'm going to say is you were provoked and antagonized for 4 episodes. You were the best version of yourself during every single encounter with every single cast member. The moment the threat was made was the moment action should have been taken. Instead, you were called a liar and told you didn't hear what you heard. Everyone involved played in your face, so what's a girl to do? I don't blame you for taking matters into your own hands and finding out where the skeletons are buried. While I'm here, a friend to everyone is a friend of no one, and don't stab me, then try to control the bleeding. Ooh, a word. I do agree that, yes, production should have stepped in. She heard what we heard, which was what was said, which should have been taken as a threat and should have been thrown up. The red flag should have got thrown up at that point. And that's not to shift blame. That's just a fact. I do understand that if you don't feel protected, which Kenya has been vocal about, that she didn't really feel like, she was always backed by production and stuff like that. And I feel like the way this whole thing went down is only more evident of that. It's just a ridiculous situation. Kelli had posted this: defending someone and then experiencing why nobody likes them is so humbling. I bet you never say that dumb shit again, Kelli, that, oh, that's not who I've known that person to be, or that's not what I know that person to be. Yeah, I bet you'll never say that again. Brit posted this dumb and I'm still here. And Porsha had actually written to it underneath, I think, too. God, I hope she doesn't come back next season. What else? But then Kenya loses me too, where it's like, then she's posting like stuff like this or reposting stuff like this. And I'm just kind of like, okay, Kenya, that's not really helping the case. Yeah, it's not really helping the case. That's clearly like AI generated, y'all. This is what Kenya had wrote in response, which y'all let me know in the comments. Do you feel like this was a farewell message? Like, what exactly did you take of this? As you see, it says, you have been my besties for the last 12 years, and I love and appreciate you so much. Last year, you cried with me when all of my hard work from the salon was cut by production and none of it was shown. I want to thank all of my friends who showed up for me and who support me on a regular basis, who love me down. Miss Lawrence, thank you for gracing us all with your presence. You are a star. I hope to turn our segment into a TV show, God willing. Special thanks to my event planner, Events by Monet, who always throws the most stunning events. It was beautiful. Thank you to the gorgeous models who helped make Kenya Moore hair care so iconic. To the cast of RHOA season 16, I wish you all an incredible season. To my friends and family, thanks for loving me, flaws and all. Thank you to all the stunning women who have patronized Kenya Moore Hair Spa. I love making you look beautiful. Love and blessings to you all. It gave me farewell, but I guess only time will tell on that one. Oh.
What happened is,
I'll link this in the box below because I don't want this to continue to get too long, y'all. But Andy and his co-hosts offered up their opinions on the matter and everything, and this was Kenya's response. The two co-hosts are extremely ignorant. SA is grape. Remember, that's what Phaedra accused Kandi of attempting to do to Porsha. Revenge P, if someone showed Kim K sex tape to you, is that Revenge P? I found that plus tons others online. She signed a release for it, so it's a fair receipt. Warning, if you are not an attorney and familiar with Georgia law, then STFU. Sick of the bias and selective outrage. These comments should not have aired. It's a podcast. Where is legal? You don't want activated Kenya. I shouldn't have shown at my event, but for the love of God, why would they ignore a clear threat? Yeah, I can understand that. I could definitely understand that. And then, y'all, the final thing that I wanted to show was individuals have been digging up receipts on Brit. 1 second. I unfortunately cannot find the last clip I was looking for. It was an old clip that resurfaced of Brit. It was very much giving... I can understand why people who say, you know, it's giving escort vibes or casting couch vibes, whatever you want to say. I can understand it. Nonetheless, y'all, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the things. Let me know how you felt about this. I feel like our girl went out. She went out sad, unfortunately, to say. And I hate that for her after all these seasons. I definitely do. But we have to see next week where things unfold and the aftermath and all that stuff. It's not over just yet, y'all. So again, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.